So hello and welcome to the video, and welcome to London's Heathrow Airport. This is a little known area of Heathrow, recently opened, where the hopes and dreams of travellers are buried when their plans get scuppered because of Heathrow's incompetence. Now, I'm joking, this isn't London Heathrow, but I was there yesterday, and yesterday will not go down in the annals of history as one of Heathrow's best. The day before yesterday, they mandated that 30 flights into the airport be cancelled to give the place some hope of coping with the number of passengers expected. And my flight into London Heathrow was one of those cancelled. That resulted in me having to cancel and rebook everything, and I ended up getting to Heathrow about 6 hours later than I originally planned, which kind of scuppered what I'd expected to do there. One of the things I'd expected to do was record an intro to this video, so I'm doing it today here in Boston, because the flight from London to Boston that I was due on yesterday did actually take place. I travelled with British Airways in first class, and this is that experience, and it was a pretty good one, I have to say. So if you'd like to see what happened, stick around.
Hi, I'm Matt. Over the last 25 years, I've travelled a lot. I've lived in 5 countries on 4 continents. I've flown over 1.3 million miles. I've visited over 100 countries, every American state, but I'm nowhere near done. So subscribe to the channel so you can come with me.
Going to make everyone walk the full distance. The original booking gave me around 4 hours in Heathrow to enjoy BA's Concorde room. This is a true first-class lounge, available only to people travelling in first and those who achieve gold guest list status within the executive club. That requires you, in normal times at least, to obtain 5,000 tier points in one membership year, which is a lot. Even when I was travelling the most, I never got anywhere near, so visiting the Concorde room is a rare treat for me. The cancellation and rebooking reduced my transfer time to about an hour. As I was connecting in London, I had to choose between exiting landside and going back through security, something which is generally pretty speedy as I'd arrived from Dublin, so there was no passport queue to navigate, or to go through flight connections. You never know which one will be best, and you'll never know if you pick the right option, but the guy at the plane door thought the flight connections option would be quicker, as there were long security queues upstairs, including through the first wing. Probably the wrong choice, but I chose to go through flight connections, partly as I've never done that before, so thought it would be an interesting experience. There were really no queues, but it was a lengthy walk, so by the time I reached the lounge, I only had about 25 minutes there. I headed straight for the dining area, but it took about 10 minutes to get seated and to get a menu in hand, at which point they told me that as the main dishes took about 20 minutes to prepare, they couldn't help me. I was advised to go to the first lounge and order something there, as that team could produce food much more quickly. That sounds outrageous, but it was actually advice offered with the very best of intentions and was received by me in that spirit, even if it sounds slightly ridiculous now. I did spend about 10 minutes on the balcony with a glass of champagne and managed to get my hands on a starter that was more readily available. But overall, my time in the Concorde room was short and was really quite unsatisfactory. We departed from the B gates. Quite remarkably, the previous day's flight had been delayed by 23.5 hours, which gave me a momentary heart failure when I saw my flight number departing 30 minutes earlier than scheduled. The previous day's flight left from the C gates, so we left from the B gates to minimise confusion. On board, to a very friendly welcome, a left turn and an escort to my seat, 1A. Not quite as special a seat as 1A had been on the 747, but it's still a boarding pass to treasure. The cabin is a 1-2-1 configuration, with the middle seats being angled towards each other. Not ideal for communication, but the best option for a couple travelling together. Acronym time. A PDB was offered. I took a glass of LPGS, and very refreshing it was too. A refill was offered and accepted, although it was oddly flat. Not sure what happened there, but it was happily replaced with a glass that actually still had some fizz to it. Let's talk about the seat. On many levels, it's great. Spacious, comfortable, and it has a good build quality. It has good width, good support, and is a genuinely flat bed experience, no pesky foot cubby that needs to accommodate my size 11s. A 3-pin plug is available, as is a double USB port which is tucked away, along with an RCA input. I had to Google what it was called, and I really can't imagine how anyone would use one these days. Perhaps a clue that the seat's design is a little dated. Seat controls are quite elegant and are very simple, and a remote for the TV, which leads me to the first drawback of the seat, which is that the TV quality is, well, it's poor. The TV screen is stored at an angle. I didn't learn if we were allowed to deploy it for takeoff and landing, but I suspect not. It pops out quite easily and is of decent size and is very solidly built, but the age of the seat means the picture definition is really poor. Many business class screens these days offer a better viewing experience than these aging first class screens. A good range of viewing options were available, but by any objective measure, it's a poor screen. The other big drawback is that, mysteriously, there's no storage around the seat apart from this large cupboard. The cupboard is great, ample space for my bag and shoes and the bedding I wasn't using, but there was nowhere to put glasses, hearing aids or reading materials while you sleep. It would have been really easy to devote some space to this, but not doing so is a real drawback that I just cannot understand. You can put stuff on top of the table console, but whether it would still be there when you woke up is a real question. For the record, I think the cupboard in seat 1A is a little larger than the space available in other seats. I've learned that opening amenity kits one-handed while I film with the other hand is not a straightforward process, so I filmed the contents later. This was a male kit, and it contained 5 assorted lotions and potions, as well as the usual socks, eye mask and earplugs, as well as a dental kit and a comb. Thanks very much for that, BA. Each seat has 2 windows, and the framing of those windows is quite attractive, with a shade that deploys and retracts quite quickly. Unfortunately, the inner window screen is quite flexible, so I couldn't attach my camera to it for takeoff, so I had to go handheld to capture the moment. Not entirely successfully, but my takeoff footage was far more satisfactory than my landing footage ended up being, as you'll see later. Service began pleasantly quickly after takeoff, a gin and tonic with canapes. They were absolutely delicious, especially the ham-on. A very strong start to the food offering. The table pops up and out. It's really sturdy and can be extended so you can buddy dine with another traveller sitting in the footstool, although in my experience anyone over 4'8" will find it quite uncomfortable to squeeze into the space. The table does slide back somewhat, which should allow the more nimble to exit the seat with the table deployed. After the gin, I moved on to some excellent Shiraz wine as the turbulence kicked in, as it inevitably does when you're trying to eat. The table was laid and the dining service proceeded as it had pre-pandemic, course by course, served in or on quality glass and chinaware. It was a measured service, not slow but also not rushed, and it was an extremely pleasant experience. I started with the beef carpaccio, which was delicious with plenty of truffle creme fraiche. Another big tick. For my main course, I doubled down on the cow by choosing the slow-cooked beef cheeks with a side of sweet corn gnocchi. The beef was soft and melted in the mouth, another triumph from Dough & Co, who supply the catering to BA. I'm not a big dessert eater, but I did take on a cheese plate, accompanied by some cognac. Delicious again, and importantly, a good cracker to cheese ratio. Once again, I did well, although the blue cheese was a little too bluey for my palate. Overall, it was a superb meal, perhaps the best I've had on a plane, and after 800 flights, that is quite an accolade. served with style and elegance by the excellent crew. Good job, BA, and regular viewers of the channel will know that I don't say that often. I'll include the full menu at the end of the video. After dinner, and it was time to relax, I changed into the BA sleep suit, which was comfortable and I am sure you will agree was very stylish. I reclined the seat using the very convenient and straightforward rocker control. Other airlines offer 8 or perhaps 10 different buttons to adjust the seat, which did make me study the BA seat a little more closely. It's a smooth and simple conversion from seat to bed, although there's limited opportunity to customise the seat position. The buttons on other airlines allow you to change the degree of leg rest in place or to change the seat back recline in isolation. You can't on BA, although I didn't consider that to be an inconvenience. I couldn't resist another drink, so received a cheeky pint of Zacapa 23 rum, and I settled in to watch a documentary about the late great Shane Warne. I got perhaps an hour into the programme before I succumbed to the food, drink and the comfort of the seat, and as it was past midnight UK time and I'd had a long and somewhat trying day, I fell asleep. A second meal was advertised on the menu, but the crew didn't wake me for it, neither had they asked if I wanted to be woken. I'm not too bothered by missing out, although amongst an otherwise excellent service, I think it is a question they could have asked earlier in the flight. A minor criticism, but a criticism nonetheless. So we landed into Boston well after dark, handheld footage again, which frankly was not brilliant. We landed into Boston close to 11 PM, so the immigration queues were short, although it still took around 25 minutes to get through. So conclusions. Once I was on the plane, it was a great experience that I thoroughly enjoyed. Things didn't go well before I got on board, although that was far more down to Heathrow than it was BA. A few years ago, the 1 Mile at a Time blog described BA's first class product as being the best business class product in the world. Quite a funny line, but one I can understand. The seat is great, but has some shortcomings, which most other first class seats and a handful of business class seats don't suffer from, particularly when it comes to storage and the entertainment screen. The food and drink was excellent, really enjoyable, and given I've not flown in many first class cabins, was probably the best I've ever experienced in the air. But people expect caviar and similar luxuries in first class, which BA doesn't even try to emulate. And the service was superb, discreet and measured, but very friendly and efficient, even if I would have preferred to be woken for the second meal. But whilst that service was excellent, it wasn't better than you would expect to receive in a premium business cabin. So BA's first class offering is a good step up from their traditional business class, and will come as a treat if that's the experience you're used to. But it doesn't compare well against first class offerings from other airlines, and you'll be disappointed if that's the service experience you benchmark BA's first class against. I said traditional business class, as BA is in the process of rolling out its new club suite, which is a step up from the old club dormitory, and their new business class seat is reportedly not far off the quality of this first class seat, even if the catering remains a notch below. I'm flying in a club suite later this year, so I'm looking forward to comparing that experience to this one. But is BA's first much better than Qatar's Q Suite, which is regarded as the best business class seat in the world? Well, dear viewer, the reason why I was heading to the US was to fly in Qatar's Q Suite product, actually on the longest Q Suite route that there is. So look out for that video, after which I'll be in a good position to conclude on whether BA's first actually is the best business class seat in the world. This was an Avios booking, which would have cost 68,000 Avios plus a fairly ridiculous £546 in taxes and fees had I started in London. But with an eye on saving some cash, I elected to start this journey in Dublin, which increased the Avios cost to 83,000 but reduced the cash cost to £211. So I got £335 in value for 15,000 Avios, which is a yield of 2.23p per Avios, which is excellent. Remember, you get 0.8 of a p per Avio in Sainsbury's these days, so I got nearly 3 times that value for this redemption. Of course, I gave some of that value back from having to get to Dublin to start this itinerary, and as it turned out, starting in Dublin created all sorts of challenges, but you get the idea, and I think it was still great value. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave it a like if you did, and leave me a comment. Are you tempted to try BA's First Class after watching this, or do you think it's still somewhat overrated? Please subscribe if you're new, and if you'd like to support me more directly, check out my Patreon page, the link to which is in the description below. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.